Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of the catch-ups with Jono. It is an exciting episode because today we will be bringing on a legend of a man, a special guest. Paul, are you there, my friend? Paul, can you hear me? Yes, I got you.
Hey, fella, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's a bit wet and windy where we are today, but generally pretty good, mate. Pretty good.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yes, I got you. Awesome.
Oh, there's a bit of feedback.
Cool. Doing great. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's a bit wet and windy where we are today, but generally pretty good, mate. Pretty good.
Yeah. So, all right. I think we sorted the feedback now. I think we should be good to go. So, can I see in the comments, there was an error at my end, I apologize. Can I see in the comments, please, can you hear us? You're seeing us loud and clear. And who has actually met or seen this man speak before? So who has seen Paul, met Paul, had the opportunity to chat to Paul at some stage? If not, you're in for a treat. No pressure, Paul, no pressure at all.
No pressure there, brother.
So there we go. Good. You can hear us loud and clear. What I would like to start with, Paul, and we're really quite, oh, good. You can hear yourself. Is that Jeanette on your Facebook that says you can hear you? That's brilliant. Awesome. So, Paul, with the stuff that you're doing within the community, there's so many elements to the amazing, I guess, career that you've established for yourself. So what I would like to start with is, who are you and what are some of the things that you do with your life day to day down the Wairarapa?
Oh, awesome. Okay, buddy. Well, thank you very much, and hello to everybody out there, and give you a little bit of an idea about who we are and what we are down here. So my wife,
Paul,
and Jeanette, can you hear me, fella? Can you hear me, Jono? You're looking very strange at me. Yes? Can you hear me still?
Yep, I can hear you still. Sorry.
Okay, shall we start that again?
Yes, go for it, my friend.
G'day, team. My wife, Jeanette, and I are down here in the Wairarapa, which is in the lower North Island of New Zealand. In our day jobs that we have, we own a building company. We've done 700 homes now in the Wairarapa region. We're developers. We're in the rental portfolio market. We do investing with other items around the place, and been doing all this now for the last 20 years. So it gives you a little bit about what we do there. And the beauty with what we have now with being part of the Wealth Mentor team is we have quite a bit of time on our hands now to get out into the community and be active community members. We do a lot with homeless shelters, the Māori Pacifica population down here. We started up business mentoring with them. And I was actually just talking to the local newspaper this morning. We're doing an article and running some things with them down here doing that at the moment. And I'm involved with Master Builders National Office. And we one of the things that I've just been to is a conference on Constructive Forum down in Wellington there. So that was pretty cool. And I was lucky enough to be invited down there as a speaker to do things like that. So I do lots of things like that in the community now.
That's really cool, Paul. And I was actually yesterday on the coffee catch up. I know you had a busy day yesterday and haven't managed to catch up on the coffee catch up. But yesterday I talked about the fact that you had been at that conference on the weekend. What was the conference and what was your role in speaking? And what are some of the key things that you took out of that weekend?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So it was last Thursday, Friday. We were down in Wellington. It was called the Constructive Forum for commercial and residential builders in New Zealand. So as part of that, day one was all the commercial industry being there and just talking about what's happening in the industry. And then day two was residential and obviously some of the stuff that come out. But I was lucky enough to be asked to go down and speak around diversity in the workplace and some of the work that we're doing here in our local region. So when we say diversity in the workplace, it's trying to teach the education system, the construction industry, how to think diversely in these times, because these times it's really hard to find staff. Doesn't matter if it's lower level, middle management, and senior management staff. So we were giving ideas on what we're doing in our local community. So some of the things that we do here is we go out to the schools and we try and get into the schools to teach the kids about our trades and all that sort of stuff. But we're trying to educate the teachers and educate them now to say, look, there is a wonderful opportunity in the trades for a young fella or a young lady to come in and climb through the ranks reasonably quickly these days. So we were talking about that. We were talking about our work with the retiree market. So instead of getting to 65 and finishing, we're actually bringing them back now as mentors into the industry and getting them to look after the younger ones. And so it's building that bridge with that older community. 75, I think, is the oldest one that we've got, and they're talking and mentoring. So we're doing that sort of stuff. And then I was talking about the work that we're doing with Māori and Pacifica people and how to bring them into the industry and working with them. And the last one was the Europeans, because we've got quite a few Europeans here. And we've actually got them through our networks down here. So it's a huge area that we're talking about.
Awesome. And what are some of the key stats that you took out from the week, or from the 2-day conference? Because I did drop a few of them yesterday, and people really resonated with some of those key elements about housing in New Zealand, the construction industry. So I'll let you take the floor for a little bit and just talk a little bit about what, things you took out of it, but also your impressions or your feelings or what you're seeing happen through the property market.
Yeah, it was really amazing. The one that you would have spoken about yesterday, it's a paper that's been written called The Need to Build. And it talked about what's happening in New Zealand with our population growth, talking about our retiree market and how that's coming through now. And then with our tourism and the people coming in. So it was all talking about that migration and what's happening in New Zealand. And in short, like you would have covered yesterday, hugely, hugely interesting to say that our population could go from 5 million to 7 million in the next sort of 10 to 20 years. And so how that reflects on our construction industry is we're going to need more commercial properties. We're going to need more housing for everybody. And then obviously the flow on is all the jobs that are generated in the industries that are generated out of that. But it was basically saying, in short, we've got to build 30,000 houses or properties a year for the next 20 years. And as we all know, with what's happened in the past 20 years, we were 100,000 houses short to get to this point now. So for us to be short that many and then now to start growing, we're all sitting here in our industry going, ooh, we can't keep up with that demand. So from us as investors, we just sit there and just do this and go from a portfolio point of view. The rental demand is going to be outstanding. And as housing gets too high for people to own, then they're all going to move into the rental property market. So from an investing point of view, yeah, really exciting times for us in that regard.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And guys, while Paul's chatting away, feel free to throw any comments or questions in the chat. It's always nice to hear. Ganeshan, thank you, saying it's great to see you again. And congratulations, Paul, from Ganeshan again. Thanks for your feedback there. Appreciate that. It's really quite interesting when we look at it from the standpoint that, yeah, the shortage is nuts. But the other thing that you kind of touched on was the change of the way that people are going to start living as well, and the change of the number of people that, per house, per dwelling, I guess, and moving to that real, high usage of housing and probably more towards what we see through Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. So the example they used was actually Germany and how they live over there in Germany, and they were saying that as a model that works really well. So in short, as the population is going to get older, we're all going to start slimming down from our families. We're going to move from 2.9 people in a house down to 2. So your retiree market is obviously going to take up a huge number of that. And then for us as developers and the commercial industry, residential builders, we're going to have to build up and we're going to have to build smaller. So it was really interesting from the residential point of view. We had local government there. And so we were discussing with local government what's going to happen with the changes and everything at council level. And so it's been really cool. So like locally here, I've been working with 4 different councils and talking to them about this growth and talking to them about what needs to change. Because at the moment, the councils sort of work from here, but we're starting to plan 10 years in advance. And we're saying to them, we need to drop garages off houses. We need to drop parking spaces, especially in the cities. It's all going to become around how you can get to and fro to work and into the supermarkets and things like that. And so that's where your busing network and your train network's going to grow. So there was huge discussion around that sort of stuff. So it was really cool to be part of it. And it's cool to be able to feed this back to our network. So that means that we're well informed when we're making the decisions, when we're doing our investing. So yeah, it gives you a bit of an idea, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of area wise, is there some feedback around what sort of areas we're seeing sort of a lot of the infrastructure or the growth coming in?
Yeah, great question. What we're starting to see now, because of COVID, we've all realized that we actually don't need to drive into work and be at work. And what we're seeing in the cities now is that the larger industries are starting to look out into the regions. And so in the regions, obviously you've got cheaper land, cheaper lease, cheaper rentals, all those sort of things from a commercial viewpoint. So they're starting to go, well, okay, well, we don't need to be in the middle of the city. Let's head out to the regions and go there. And then you can see in the regions that there's a lot more land available for housing as well. So in particular, is there one area? I would probably say not one area. I would say New Zealand, with how it's going, you could literally go to any area at the moment. The key is to see where the infrastructure spend has been spent. We've spoken about this for years. It's always around infrastructure, whether it's roading, ports, transport, all those sort of things. So it's easier to get back to the cities. And New Zealand now is starting to realise that they need to expand on those sort of areas. I was talking to a person from the Hawke's Bay, Gisborne region, and they were saying how that transport link down to Wellington is having all this money spent on it. And they've noticed the increase in traffic, the increase in land and house pricing. And this is in areas where there's only 500 people in a town. And they're noticing that it's starting to rise now. So even from the smallest regions right through the bigger areas, it's certainly getting the growth.
That's really interesting. There's a couple of questions that have come through. One from Barbara here. What do you mean by build up? Are you talking tall buildings, apartments, units?
Yeah, so as a general rule of thumb, rural New Zealand or residential New Zealand in the regions is one story because you've got 1,000 square meters. And what we're starting to say now is, well, okay, let's start shrinking that down. And when you go into the cities, you'll see a lot of 2-story homes. But now we're seeing, multi-level, which is going up to 3. And the councils will consent for that. And then obviously in the cities, it'll be the apartments that'll grow. So for us in the regions, it's quite a mind shift to go from a single story to a 3-story complex. So a lot of the councils are starting to look at that as options for them in the towns.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, even around where I'm living now. One of my goals, Paul, you haven't checked on yesterday, as I set lockdown goals, and one of them is to exercise every day. So yesterday I went for a bit of a run, probably more of a waddle, but I went for a waddle, and my wife went afterwards and probably did about 3 times what I did. But she came back with a photo of a construction site just down the road from us, and she was like, "What is this?" It just was this mammoth construction site. And we're talking. It was 4 stories high. We're talking 5, back all joined up, and that's just the way that we're seeing things go.
Yeah, it's becoming the norm now, and so that's what we're saying to councils out in the regions. You've got to start thinking like that. It's funny that you talk about goals, my friend. We live in a rural situation where we're on we got a farm, 5 acres down here. So today I've been on 3 Zoom calls this morning with different industries already. Yeah. And I'm looking out the window and I'm like, there goes Jeanette. And she's wet as a shag. So she's really wet. And I'm like, and there goes my daughter. And I'm like, and there goes her boyfriend. And I'm like, oh, something's obviously happening out there. And then they all waddle back about 10 minutes later. And I'm like, what's been happening? And they're like, oh, mum's been out there helping a ewe give birth. So she's just helped with the lambing process and delivered 3 baby lambs this morning. So there you go, fella. There's a bit of a goal for you.
Yeah, how's your lockdown going for you?
Yeah.
Just delivering a few lambs. Brilliant.
She's turned into a farmer overnight.
And then for those of you who have met Jeanette, she's such an inspiration as well. She was on our Wonder Woman Summit that we ran a few months ago. She's amazing, and I've asked her if she can join us at some stage on this as well, because then guys can really ask her about her landing her resume now, which is now includes farming.
Yeah, farming, interior designer, developer, investor.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Hey, Paul, one of the things that I know that you're massive on is community. And you mentioned it at the start, a few of the elements that you're involved in. What do you think is such a powerful thing? Obviously, you built an extremely successful business, extremely successful portfolio that gives you the ability to now start to give back to the community. What is it, I guess, the feeling around that, but also what is it that you'd like to do or get out there and do for your community?
I think what we've found now with what we're doing over time when we've built our portfolio up enough is that we've got a bit of flexibility with what we do with life now. And so it's not that 9 to 5 normal work. So we can allocate accordingly where we want to play. So for us at the moment, it's getting out into the community and supporting the community. So some of the initiatives that we're helping with is one of them is the homeless shelters down here. So we're involved with building homeless shelters and setting up the areas for people to come in our local community. I'm obviously Māori down here. And so one thing we learned from COVID last year is that there was no business community down here for Māori and Pacifica. So we've set that up and got that going. And one of my Zoom calls this morning was I was talking to the newspaper, and we were talking about how we're going to grow and put in feature articles into the newspaper coming up. So we're going to get into that and showcasing those sort of things. I do a lot with the councils and guiding and leveraging and trying to help them understand that long-term plan. And then one of the initiatives that I'm on is called a mayoral task force. And that's how we can help people into employment. So I go in there and talk from a practical viewpoint now, what we're needing in the industries, doing that. And from that grew the Leaders Forum. So now the leaders in each of the different industries come together and we network and try and work out how we can grow the economic growth of our region. So we're talking sort of at really high levels now and what we can do for the different industries. And then the industries go into each industry and share what we're doing in ours so others can understand and learn from that. And so obviously housing is massive, as we all know, around the country. So we're now trying to come up with alternative solutions to try and house people and do things like that. So I could go on for days here, Jono, about what we're doing. This is really weird, actually, because I've just been nominated for an award for community service. And they asked me to just rattle off what I do. I sat there and went, Jesus, how the hell do I do what I do of a normal day as well as what I'm doing in the community? So I'm very lucky to have a lot of support from my family, which gives me that space to do that stuff. So I'm lucky I've got a beautiful wife that can help out in that regard.
She is, and I'm sure she's a big influence on that. I'm sure. It really is truly inspirational. I love spending time. We often chat on the phone. You'll help me with if I have to drive our office in Parnell. I live in East Auckland. It can sometimes be a 45-minute drive. And sometimes that 45-minute drive is occupied by Paul. And I always do appreciate the energy that you bring. So thank you for that. And I'm really excited because we've actually got something that we launched at Wealth Mentor. We're doing our first ever developers workshop in a few weeks, which is so exciting. We're coming down to your neck of the woods. I'll bring my wine drinking shoes because I believe there's some good vineyards, but it's going to be really cool to be able to keep working with people and showing them, the awesome opportunities within property. So really excited to bring that part in. All right, Paul, I got one more question for you. And it's one that I think is so important for everybody. And the question is going to be, and I'll say it, and then I'll give you a little bit of time to think about it before you answer it. And I'll answer from my standpoint. What does wealth mean to you? Because wealth, I think, can be viewed in so many different ways. And if you've jumped on our YouTube channel, you would have seen me talk about this. The fact that for wealth, for some people, it's about, driving the Porsche and having the Rolex and the private jets or the helicopters. For other people, wealth is knowing that you have the financial security to be able to give back to your communities. For me, it's all about the fact that wealth is creating a better life for my family. When the sacrifices that you look at what your parents do and all that sort of thing. So wealth is very much for me about the family side. For you, what does wealth mean to you?
That is a great question, eh? It's a great question. And I think, as I've been thinking here, I think it does change, and it has changed over the years as we've progressed. So we've got, teenage daughters now. They're all, 17 and coming up 20, and them and their partners are all in the other room. They're playing Xbox and whatever the teenagers play these days. I think the key now for us in our life at the moment is freedom. And with what's happening around the world, with COVID at the moment, and flexibility is what wealth means to us or for me at the moment. The freedom for us is how we can connect with others now in the community, and the flexibility that we don't have to work every day. Having that flexibility to have time to go out into the community and support and help others. So for me at the moment, it's around how I can help our community and help others is the wealth that we have. And there's enough abundance out there for everybody. And so we can share this knowledge and share this information and help guide and coach and be little mentors and being around folks like yourself and being able to be part of this journey. We do it because we enjoy the learnings that come out of it. So yeah, for me, that's where wealth would be for me at this present moment.
Yeah. And I could see that with the way that you go about things, as I said before, always an inspiration. I know that the Wealth Mentor Family Network really appreciate anything that you do within that. The mentors are all big fans, and yeah, it's really great to have you, Wicked Southies, on. And I'm sure have a chat to Jeanette, and we'll see if we can get her on either next week or the week after for a little bit of a chat, if she's not too busy on the farm,
We've only got about another 5 to go, so we'll see how many she's delivered by then.
Awesome. So Paul, yesterday's video, I think at this stage has already had over 300 views. 300 people in front of you. You've got a minute or so. You can just give them your parting words on just be you.
Okay. Probably for us Kiwis, we're in COVID lockdown level 4 at the moment. So use this time wisely. Give it a moment to reset and take that pause and reset and think about your life and think about, like you said yesterday, your goals, and take a breath because we've been full noise over here. And then I would love to hear from some of our Australian family how they're handling going through it longer than what we've done. Because then it'd be interesting to hear that feedback so I can feed that back to all the people in the communities that I work with. But yeah, reset, take a breath, look out the window and actually go, fuck, we actually live in a pretty cool world, and our times are pretty magical, even though it is crazy. And go, well, okay, what else can we do? What else can I plan for? What's my next goal? Some of you might be thinking, I just want to buy a rental property, or want to buy whatever, a subdivision, whatever. Just think of that, reset, start again, and come to these things that we're doing with Jono, and come to all these courses and do this sort of stuff, because it'll help you grow.
Wicked. It's always an absolute pleasure. I'm sure there'll be some wicked comments coming through on this. So thank you so much for your time, Paul. Much appreciated. You have an awesome weekend, an awesome day, and I know that you did panic buy at the liquor store, so enjoy your weekend, my friend, and it's always great to see you.
I'll change it from this to a glass in about 3 hours.
All right, have a great weekend, my friend. See you, everybody. Right. Have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Guests are lined up for next week. It's going to be a ripper. See you all.